Sanders loads up. Look at a tangled mess. With a play clock down to 1, it's a screen pass.
This thing keeps happening over and over again. Arch Manning is being protected, but I'm not even mad at Arch Manning. I grew to like Arch Manning. I'm going to expose ESPN right quick. The NFL Shields protector, the conglomerate that's known as ESPN.
And here's the thing, I don't have a problem. Do your due diligence. Go see every quarterback you can. My only point was, don't go see every quarterback you can, but not develop the ones that you got in camp. Don't go running around trying to find a savior when you could be developing people in your camp now.
When the mainstream media veers completely off script, you get headlines like this: Shedeur Sanders being hailed as Arch Manning's long-lost twin and destined rival. Yep, that's the storyline, football fate, cosmic parallels, and all. Nobody asked for it, but they're serving it up anyway. It's the sports world equivalent of comparing sneakers to space shuttles, absurd but oddly entertaining. Welcome to the media circus, where logic takes a backseat to clicks and hot takes. Buckle up, this one's equal parts hilarious, cringe-worthy, and reality-bending.
Here to tell you, man, this is what mainstream media do to y'all. They'll give you every excuse and give you all these smoke and mirrors when it comes to certain athletes. Now, we all know the hype surrounded around Arch Manning, and coming into game against Ohio State, the likes of Paul Feinbein talking about he is the best college quarterback ever, coming in and well hyped since Tim Tebow.
If you're enjoying, please subscribe Shedeur Sanders to the channel. It helps more than you think. The media desperately needs to pump the brakes on these overblown comparisons. Now they're slotting Shedeur Sanders right next to Arch Manning as if football has turned into some Marvel-style multiverse crossover nobody ever asked for. It's almost like the sports become one giant family reunion, where flashy last names and famous bloodlines overshadow actual play on the field. Fans are left shaking their heads at yet another made-up storyline pushed for clicks instead of reality.
So now it sounds like the Cleveland Browns are going to all but imprison Shedeur Sanders in the football sense of a very talented rookie quarterback who obviously needs reps, who needs an opportunity, and who now, barring some miraculous luck, will not get the opportunity to play in a single real game. I'm sure many around the NFL are celebrating as we speak. They are chuckling about this. Many in the NFL wanted to teach Shedeur and his daddy a lesson.
Seriously, the media is acting as if quarterback success is some old hand-me-down jacket passed from your uncle instead of something earned through relentless work, dedication, and proving yourself in real games. The whole Shedeur is basically Arch narrative is downright comical, because it reveals far more about the media's obsession with bloodlines than anything to do with actual football. They're selling a storyline where pedigree overshadows production, as if the NFL draft has become a family tree edition of Ancestry.com where last names matter more than talent, preparation, or performance on the field.
Shedeur Sanders seems to be the talk of college football after Arch Manning's disappointing debut. Fans are calling out the double standard for Arch Manning's poor debut versus Ohio State being excused, while Shedeur wouldn't have gotten the same grace at Colorado. Why don't y'all call out Arch Manning Nepo baby like y'all did Shedeur and Bronny? Ocho, is Arch Manning getting a free pass from the media just because of his last name, while Shedeur would have been torn apart for the same performance?
Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously, that's the way it's always been. That's the way it's always been. I think watching Dan Orlovsky, Dan made some good excuses up there, for
he did it.
Yeah,
Forget touchdowns, forget real playmaking skills. What apparently counts most now is whether your last name makes noise in the press box. The way the media gushes over pedigrees, you'd think quarterbacks were luxury cars, brand first, performance optional. And here's the twist, the NFL media feeds on this chaos. They hunt for fresh, talented prospects, hype them just enough to drive headlines, then undercut them with ridiculous comparisons and narratives before the ink has even dried on their rookie deals. It's a cycle built for clicks, not truth, and fans are left rolling their eyes.
Arch Manning, Shedeur Sanders. Is it a double standard in the media by the way that they treat them?
Hell yeah, one black, one is white. Like, come on, man. Hey, I'm just gonna get to it. Shedeur throwing interception, which he haven't. It'd have been his fault. When a Manning, no matter which Manning it is, throw an interception, it's the receiver's fault. If the media like you, if they mess with you, it's always gonna be the other person's fault. It's not gonna be your fault. So yeah, it's gonna be a double standard. Arch, is he tall? He got the physical ability? Yeah, but we gotta keep it 100. You make Arch, Shedeur, and vice versa. I'm telling you, the talking points is gonna be different. So
it's like they don't want Shedeur to succeed. They'd rather see him buckle under the weight of overhyped narratives than actually shine on his own terms. It's almost like a game: pump up the drama, stack the pressure, and then act shocked when the player either struggles or fights through it. But let's pause for a second. How in the world is this even comparable? Shedeur has already gone out there and shown he belongs. 2 touchdowns in his first preseason game is nothing to sneeze at. That's not a fluke, that's not potential, that's production. Yet somehow, the media memory span lasts about as long as a TikTok video. Instead of celebrating that kind of debut, they pretend it didn't happen and default to their favorite trick. Well, let's see if he's the same as Arch Manning. Nah, let's just shove him into the Arch Manning template and call it a day. It's lazy, it's predictable, and it's proof the media sometimes treats football like daytime soap opera writing. The irony here is brutal. They claim they want fresh talent, they claim they want new stars to rise, but when someone like Shedeur actually delivers, suddenly it's all about tearing him down. It's like they've got this strange addiction to pessimism.
Going around saying, oh my gosh, this is such a distraction and we can't, it's not work, but don't understand when somebody look at you and say, well, Arch looks like he's 2-3 years away. Cade Klubnik didn't look like he was doing much. I mean, I like Lenore Sellers. He looked like a stud, right? Garrett Nussmeier looked pretty good. But here's what I'm telling you. When you say that what we need ain't here today and it's here tomorrow, don't be alarmed if people start judging what you got.
Instead of fanning the flames of promise, they dump a bucket of cold water on it and say, don't get too excited, he's just another last name. But here's the twist: Shedeur didn't come in riding on anyone else's coattails. He came in, suited up, and let the football do the talking. And isn't that what the game is supposed to be about? Actual performance? Actual proof? Apparently not. Because in this bizarre media circus, a legendary surname is either a blessing or a curse, and Shedeur gets stuck in the middle. Arch Manning hasn't even touched the NFL field yet, but the comparisons flow like champagne at a victory parade. He's already being packaged as the chosen one, while Shedeur has to fight tooth and nail just to get recognition for what he's already done. It's not just unfair, it's absurd. Imagine if Shedeur threw those 2 touchdowns wearing the Manning jersey instead. The media would be insufferable, declaring it the second coming of football royalty. But since it's Shedeur? Suddenly, crickets. And here's where it gets funnier: when Shedeur succeeds, the media doesn't know what to do with themselves.
I saw Archie Manning the other day, right? Oh man, he didn't play that good.
No,
he didn't play that good. So I wonder if he gonna get the same, talk and whispers and all this talk that Shedeur did when he come into the league. Is they gonna keep that same energy they had with Shedeur when he came in the NFL? Is they gonna be like, oh no, we don't want to sign him? We know all that. Is they gonna do him like that because he's a Manning? I don't think so.
I totally agree.
Do they admit they were wrong? Of course not. They pivot faster than a cornerback reading a slant route. They'll act like they always believed in him, or they'll shift the goalposts and say, well, let's see if he can keep it up. It's never enough, because the drama sells better than the truth. The truth is that Shedeur is his own player, not just some knockoff brand copy of a Manning. But don't tell that to the talking heads. They live for this narrative nonsense. They want Shedeur to be weighed down by the burden of comparison, because that's what keeps the headlines spicy. The idea that he could actually carve his own path doesn't fit into their box. It's too straightforward, too logical. They don't want an even playing field. They want tension. They want pressure. They want storylines that will stir up debate shows and social media meltdowns. If Shedeur has to take a few unfair punches along the way, so be it. That's the cost of entertainment in their world. But here's the flaw in their plan: Shedeur doesn't seem bothered. He's already proven he can show up and deliver, and that's the kind of thing you can't spin away forever. It's almost poetic, actually. The media builds this giant mountain of nonsense comparisons, hoping it'll crush a young player.
I told y'all! And now I'm finna unload on y'all boys. That boy Manning sucks, bro. If his last name wasn't Manning, he'd be an Uber driver. Y'all seen that Y'all seen that trash performance. And now, y'all have the audacity. Y'all had the unmitigated gall to make him the #1 pick. After he couldn't even beat out Quinn Ewers. Y'all had the unmitigated gall to make him the #1 Heisman favorite. Man can't even make basic layups. Can't even put up 14 points on the board with the best team in all of college football.
But every touchdown, every solid drive, every smart decision Shedeur makes chips away at that mountain. Eventually, there won't be anything left but highlights they can't ignore. And when that happens, all the lazy takes about overrated quarterbacks with famous last names will look even sillier than they already do. At the end of the day, the whole Shedeur versus Arch narrative is just another example of how wild the media really is. They'd rather chase an easy headline than acknowledge real talent. They'd rather gamble on drama than invest in celebrating actual progress. And while they keep fumbling with recycled storylines, Shedeur is out there writing his own script, one touchdown at a time. And when Shedeur's passes land in the hands of his receivers for 6 points, all those desperate comparisons just vanish into thin air. The media can keep playing matchmaker between him and Arch Manning, but the only real comparison that matters is the one Shedeur is making every time he steps on the field, the difference between hype and reality. And right now? Reality is looking pretty good for Shedeur. The funniest part of all this is that Shedeur is the truth, plain and simple, but the media has this bizarre habit of acting like they can airbrush reality.
The last name does give him privileges. It allowed people to put him on a pedestal very fast. Personally, I don't know if Arch is that confident. I feel like I've never heard him really speak on himself in that way. You know, Shedeur was super confident. He understood who he was. And like you said, people were like, oh, that's arrogant. But he was very confident and he bagged it up a lot of times on the field, if not every time. For Arch, I do think he's a little bit more on the, I'm not really that yet. And I think he's been very clear on that. I feel like he has said, hey, I haven't done anything yet. Again, you have his family saying he hasn't done anything.
They want to paint another picture, one where he's just another hyped-up college quarterback, or even worse, some byproduct of his last name instead of an actual individual talent. It's like watching someone take a masterpiece painting, spill coffee all over it, and then try to convince you it's just a doodle. Everyone can see the talent sitting right there in front of them, but the media insists on squinting until it disappears. The truth is, Shedeur doesn't need their narrative to validate him. He's already shown the poise, the arm strength, and the composure under pressure that separates maybe quarterbacks from the real deal. But instead of letting him breathe, they want to shove him into this box where his success is somehow temporary, conditional, or not as impressive as it looks. That's what the media is scared of, honestly. Because once he fully establishes himself, all their lazy narratives about him being just another last name, just another maybe, are going to collapse like a badly built house of cards. They know it, but instead of admitting it early, they double down on skepticism so they can pretend they were cautious analysts later.
We know the drama has been built up for Arch Manning to be this guy. Arch Manning to be the savior. Arch Manning for teams to start tanking in the NFL to pick up Arch Manning as their savior and their franchise quarterback for some of these respective teams. Now, we all saw the game against Ohio State. We saw the likes of Jimmy Haslett. We saw the likes of Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski of the Cleveland Browns in attendance to see what the hype was all about, to evaluate what Arch Manning could do, thinking he could be the replacement to Shedeur Sanders, and just ruled Shedeur Sanders all the way out of Cleveland.
Shedeur is already better than most people give him credit for, and the funniest part is that deep down, the media knows this. They just don't want to say it out loud yet, because they're not ready for that conversation. It's safer for them to stick with the tired, overhyped quarterback storyline. It's a classic move. They ignore the evidence in front of them so they can cling to the drama. But every time Shedeur throws a dime down the field, he's essentially rewriting their script live on television. What makes it even more ridiculous is that they act like recognizing Shedeur's talent is some controversial hot take. As if acknowledging that a quarterback who delivers touchdowns and plays with poise is actually good is some groundbreaking statement. It's not. It's just the truth. But in the bizarre world of sports media, truth is apparently too boring. They'd rather package him as the question mark, the risky bet, the player with something to prove, instead of the guy who's already proving it in real time. And this is where the disconnect really shows. Fans can see what's happening. The people watching the games know Shedeur isn't just hype. He's not riding coattails or cashing in on a famous name. He's doing the work, reading defenses, making throws, showing the exact kind of composure that sets great quarterbacks apart. Yet the media wants to keep him in the potential category forever. It's like they're trying to freeze him in time, hoping he never graduates into undeniable status, because then they'd have to admit they were wrong.
Now let's talk about this. This is confusing to me. I think there are people being simply disingenuous when it comes to this. And let me just throw it up here. There's a level of people, as I destroy my speakers, there's a level of people up here that's running around acting like they don't understand what's going on with the Arch Manning situation. What are you talking about? What do you mean you don't understand what's going on with the Arch Manning? It's just...
The irony is hilarious. They'll spend hours on TV debating whether Shedeur is the real deal, all while he's out there stacking performances that make the debate pointless. It's like arguing over whether the sun is hot while standing outside in July. The evidence is glaring, but denial makes better ratings. They want to keep kicking the can down the road until the moment arrives where they can't ignore it anymore. And when that moment comes, they'll flip the switch and pretend they saw it all along. But let's be honest, Shedeur's game speaks louder than any talking head could ever hope to. It's all about performance, and Shedeur has shown he's more than ready for that challenge. And here's the kicker, the conversation the media isn't ready for, the one about Shedeur being better than most of the quarterbacks already in the league. That conversation is coming whether they like it or not. Because talent can only be ignored for so long. You can only brush off great performances as small sample sizes before the sample grows too big to deny. Eventually, the highlight reels pile up, the stats add up, and the narrative gets dragged kicking and screaming into the truth.
So when people were talking about Shedeur Sanders, they threw around a lot of terms like entitled, privileged, not that good. Let's see what they're saying about Arch Manning though. Seems like everything is the same, except for one component. Let's check it out.
Football season is Arch Manning. And why? I just need somebody to explain to me why. What's the big deal here? I also want to be very clear that Arch Manning has started 2 games and could not take the job from Quinn Ewers. Now,
what makes it even more satisfying is that Shedeur doesn't seem bothered by the noise. He's not out here begging for validation or trying to play into the media's game. He's locked in, focused, and clearly confident in what he brings to the table. That's dangerous for the doubters. Because the more they try to paint their alternative picture, the more obvious it becomes that reality is moving in a completely different direction. So when the moment arrives, and it will. Shedeur won't just quietly walk into that spotlight. He'll sprint into it, ball in hand, and make it impossible for anyone to keep denying what's been in front of their faces the whole time. The media wants to slow walk the conversation, but the game itself is speeding it up, and sooner or later, everyone's going to have to catch up. Because the truth is simple, Shedeur Sanders is better than most people want to admit. And the longer the media tries to avoid that conversation, the funnier it's going to be when they're forced to have it anyway.